Hey, welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, I'll be teaching you about some artists that I would consider legendary and that you should really know about as a beginner and someone who's really interested in art history and where a lot of people get their inspiration from, like a lot of professional artists. These are some of my top picks for artists that have really inspired me and have inspired countless other people. So as you can see here, I'm going to be talking about Frank Frazetta first. Frank Frazetta is extremely famous for his career in doing sci-fi and fantasy novel covers. Especially in the 70s, he was doing this kind of stuff, and you know, nobody had ever seen anything quite like it, and his work just stood out so much back then, and I think that he's one of the best artists of all time. This is a Conan piece that he did for one of the covers. So I'm gonna do these and throughout my descriptions of them, I'm gonna kind of like break down what I see, like some of the techniques that these artists have used, and show you that some of the stuff that I'm teaching in my lectures, they're also using these rules, obviously to a masterful level. But I just want to bring the point home that you can apply these skills that I teach, and you can build and build and build on them. Okay, so the first thing that I notice in Frazetta's piece is his composition. So let's talk about his composition. So this is Conan here, and it's the wrong color. So Frazetta is using a triangular composition. We can see Conan is looking heroic. His head is above everything else. We can see the handles here and the swords here, are all helping that triangular shape work out. There's a lot of other little lines that kind of work. He has one here, but there's so many other ones that are working alongside the shape that one doesn't break it too much. It actually adds some extra interest. So he's got the really heroic pose down. As for the look of things as they go into the distance, you can see this little axe and spear over here, and I think that might be a hand, and some things going on over here. They fade into these clouds, so he does the dark shadows, like really dark. You can see how dark these areas are in the foreground and the parts that he wants you to look at. He really strictly keeps them right in the foreground, though. All these darks, these are just big block areas, very important for guiding the eye. But see here, he does like some light shadows that are more like this, or like that, or like that. So he does like do some really nice like shadows that you can kind of see through, and that is something that I noticed Frazetta does like insanely well, and it's something that you might want to try and practice, try and see how he's doing it. But he does these things back here that really start fading those shapes into the background and meshing them with the clouds, and that's just fully using color. So you can see here in Frazetta's painting that he does not use lines. He doesn't like really outline things. Like stuff is like, gets shaded into the background. There's no real like lines. There's like a little bit, but you can see here on that arm, there's no lines. It's just color and tone like working off of each other to bring things forwards and backwards and giving things form. And like in between the muscles, there's no lines, it's just color. So Frazetta's a true master at pretty much everything. And I highly suggest that you reference Frazetta and become familiar with a lot of his paintings, because he has so many different things that he does. He does men, women, aliens, monsters, giant gorillas, jaguars. He does awesome backgrounds and extremely good dynamic poses. So yeah, if you're into fantasy art, like medieval type stuff, he's really one of the greatest to look at. All right, let's look at another artist. Mobius, one of my favorite artists of all time. He is one of the creators of Heavy Metal magazine. You might have heard about it. Huge magazine. It's the one with the girl riding that pterodactyl coming at you. It says Heavy Metal in big capital letters. Very famous. He is a French comic book artist. As you can see by his style, here is a panel from one of his comic books. He uses line work. As you can see here, he outlines everything. One of his first famous comic books, and based on where he was living, he really got into doing like westerns and western scenes, and that was like pretty much the entirety of one of his series of comic books that he started off with. And he went on to do many more, and like creating legendary pieces of artwork, just for like the sheer detail in them and creativity. Like you can see like his spaceship, like he just does like cool stuff like that nobody really does. And he just uses all kinds of like cool shapes. This is like really prevalent in his artwork, and he does it everywhere and does all kinds of like really nice patterns. I believe later on in his career he did start coloring digitally. I believe this is colored digitally based on how nice those gradients are. Let's see. You can see here that he, like, even though this is out of his head, he does everything out of his head. Of course, there's so much, fantastical things going on in this picture. But he does not stray from the rules of perspective. He does not draw wobbly circles. This is a really nice circle. This is very nice. He treats shapes very carefully, especially in architecture and vehicles. You can see here that this is a one point perspective, and he does not stray from the rules. And look at this nice ellipse shadow, right? And this square, beautiful straight lines along the railing. These designs down here are all very carefully thought out using a ruler. His figure, about 7.5 heads tall, right? Forearm is about the same as the upper arm, and the lower leg and upper leg are about the same size as each other as well. So he does not stray from the rules of anatomy, yet this is his own character, his own creations. That's really what I'm trying to drive home with some of these lectures, especially when trying to teach you guys how to draw from your head. You need to just memorize the fundamentals and the proportions, and then you can run with them. Like Mobius does not have to think about those things anymore. Like, it's just like riding a bike. You got to struggle to, you know, keep your balance on that bike at the start, but once you get it, it just kind of gets locked in. So you have to go through that little bit of boring pain at the start, and then you can start to really draw from your head, because you don't want to be caught up thinking about how to make a line, or how to draw your basic shapes down. You need to have your mind freed up to like thinking about the larger aspects of your design as a whole, and that's how you're going to get something satisfactory. Because unfortunately, you're not going to get anything satisfactory if you're spending so much time and just struggling through it. You're not going to be happy with it. But those are the kind of things you have to go through at the start. Every artist does. Every single artist does. So it's just one of those things. And this lecture is about style. This lecture is about style. So look at these pictures. You notice that these artists have styles, and you might be like so worried about, oh, what's my style gonna be? What kind of thing should I use to make this seem like me? Or how do I get people to recognize that it's my work? And especially when you're just first starting out, it's a ridiculous waste of time. You cannot be thinking about style right off the bat, because it's going to mess you up. Because you're not going to be focusing on the basics. The basics. Mobius can't do this drawing without the basics first. And he can't get to this level without going through all kinds of practicing first. And then deciding like, oh, these are the types of tools that I like to use. I do enjoy using a pen, maybe more than paint, or maybe more than a brush. I like doing highly technical drawings with a bit of fun mixed in, not getting too caught up in the straight lines. This is something I really notice about Mobius. Sometimes he just has fun with his lines, but you have to develop like a full palette before you can start picking and choosing what you want in your style. And I think largely it comes down to what you have the most fun doing, because don't start trying to be a great painter if you don't like painting and you actually like using a pencil or ink more. I would suggest focusing on what you actually have fun doing, because you're going to be able to put a lot more time and practice into that, and you're going to be able to reach a higher level of perfection with that medium than a medium that you don't like. But you also need to start trying. Just go to the store and maybe just buy some different types of mark making tools that you don't normally use. Maybe buy some different pens, maybe buy some watercolor paint, and just maybe buy some charcoal, and try doing some work with it. Maybe you'll discover that you like something about it and you want to take that thing further, so then you can do more studying with that medium. Look at other artists that specialize in that medium and start seeing how they do things and how they get certain effects. And then maybe you get to a certain point and you're like, this is just too hard. I just don't like doing this. And then that's how you're going to start to develop your style. You're going to start to weed things out that you aren't, that don't bring you as much happiness as other things. And then you can start to create like a conglomeration of things that you like love. And then if you keep practicing and you keep at it, and you do a lot of pieces and a lot of just things that aren't pictures, like actually just fill a page with gesture drawings and get those human forms dynamic and stuff like that, and along the way of finding out new artists, like I'm trying to show you with these guys, and doing some studies and stuff like that, you will just like organically start to create your own style of things that you like. So don't worry about style if you're just a beginner. And I know a lot of people watching this course are just learning how to get into the role of an artist, and maybe learning how to take their skills to the next level and think about becoming a professional. But don't worry about style. Okay, let's go on to Raphael, one of the Renaissance masters. This is the School of Athens. It's an extremely famous piece. It's actually just painted in this section here, and it's part of some architecture. And yeah, so this is Plato and Aristotle here that he's drawn, and like in this whole piece he's just like flexing how good he is at perspective and drawing figures. And especially up here, like you can see all these little hexagons with the different layers and stuff, all in perspective. So you can see that he's using that center point, and he's got the two main figures here. So this is his that's his focal point here, and they're like being haloed by these arches, right? And that's really what emanates out of this picture. And you can see that all these tiles are perfectly in perspective, and it's quite a feat how amazingly perfect this drawing is, or this painting is. Raphael is truly a master artist. But yeah, it looks to me that this piece is just in a one perspective. Like the horizontal lines are pretty much straight, and everything converges to that center point. That's immediately what I see with the composition. His colors are very soft colors, and the two figures in the center are highly accentualized, and you look directly at them. So this guy truly cares about color and perspective and like the laws of nature when creating art, and he really sticks to those. And like, especially looking at the ceiling up here, you can tell that he like labored over that for so long to get it right. And all these separate lines, just getting them just perfect, that everything gives that perfect illusion of three-dimensional space, because these guys back then were in such competition with each other. And like this was a huge labor for an artist to do a piece this big. So the amount of like focus of a master in this one piece is pretty exceptional. So any kind of like Renaissance master is extremely good to learn from, because they truly cared about the laws of nature and of light and perspective and all that. Again, like his style is detail placed upon the rules of nature. So he, just like in that Mobius drawing, his upper arm is the same as his lower arm, right? And this guy's leg. Nope, that's pretty bad circles. But you know, the upper leg is about the same size as the lower leg. Like these, like he didn't just like come out with out of the womb knowing how to draw. Like it's fundamental skills that you need to understand and just master. That's why they're masters. They're not guessing. They're taking real rules and like there's no, if he didn't know that, he's pretty good at guessing because all these things are the same. And once you start to break down things like that, you'll start to really get what I'm talking about. So that's it for this lecture. I hope you learned a lot, and I'll see you in the next one.